Hello and welcome to another daily dose of insights powered by Container Exchange. My name is Christian, and every other day we bring to you the key news, stories, and data points that move container markets and hence your business. Today it's Friday, so we have Fundamental Friday coming up, or Fundamentals Friday coming up. Let me quickly share my screen to give you a little bit of guidance here. So the very, very hot topic in the press remains the sort of homemade US-specific supply chain disruptions. Homemade, why homemade? Because most of the factors really impacting this are driven by the disruptions at the US West Coast in terms of dock workers and terminal workers, labor unrest. For us, the key question is not so much when will this resolve or what will be the impact specifically on the US, however, but the question is, what does this mean in terms of peak season impact, in terms of volume as well as price, but also in terms of its impact on the global networks overall? Because what we've learned from COVID specifically was that disruptions in parts of the network, if the network is fully utilized or near full capacity utilization, ripple through the network and suddenly have impact on other ends of the network. If you think back to COVID, port closures in China soaked up a lot of capacity that wasn't there and that was suddenly missing in other parts of the world, namely Europe or Latin America or the US West Coast. So not only sort of the direct point-to-point connections. Now, in the US, we think this might be a little bit different, but let's take a step back. What are those disruptions? Well, there's three core issues at hand here. We have the labor unrest at the US, the main US West Coast ports, which essentially increase a vessel waiting and turnaround time. So for Seattle, I read the data points that waiting times have now increased from roughly 0.5 days, 0.5 to 1.5 days, up to 2 days to 3.5 days, right? So this essentially soaks up capacity, etc. The second point is that the traffic to the Gulf ports and the US East Coast ports, which essentially now make up more than 50% of all US imports, capacity has been restricted or is being restricted through the Panama Canal because of drought and water, lack of water essentially. And then you have the third impact, which is not so much yet in focus, but might also play a role here. You right now have significant capacity withdrawals by the main East-West carriers from the Trans-Pacific, essentially because rates dropped much faster there than in other parts of the world. So for example, I admit this is an extreme example, MSC reduced the share of its capacity that it deployed on the Trans-Pacific from 16% of its fleet to now only 9% of its fleet versus last year's. Other carriers have reacted maybe a little bit less extreme, but this shows just how carriers have reacted to rates and moved their mobile fleet to other trades that are a little bit more profitable. Now, again, coming back to the big question, will this have a global effect, or will these ripples through the network essentially be subdued by the significant supply overhang that we have in the market and essentially just soak up a little bit of capacity and provide a little bit of breathing room to the carriers? And our answer so far and up to now is that we believe that this will have just a subdued effect. It will not lead to a global supply chain crunch as we've seen it during COVID, but it will be a little bit more regional, a little bit more contained, maybe focused only on Trans-Pacific, because there's just so much surplus capacity in the market. Now, that's I'll leave you with that for the weekend, some food for thought for the weekend. I'll see you all back on Monday. Have a great weekend, recover and recharge. Talk to you then.